From poverty to prom night. The shocking truth behind a billionaire's dance invite. The clock struck midnight in the heart of Pine Hill, where secrets festered like wounds. No one saw it coming. The moment the most unlikely girl, Jenna Matthews, received an invitation to the exclusive Starlight Prom, hosted by none other than billionaire heir, Blake Harrington. The buzz was electric, the whisper sharper than broken glass. How could a girl from the wrong side of town be chosen for a night meant for the elite? People were shocked. Jenna was an ordinary girl with frizzy hair, an old hand-me-down dress, and a cramped one-bedroom apartment she shared with her mother, and a persistent sense of dread. But there she was, clutching that shimmering gold envelope like it was the key to a treasure chest. Yet, the moment Jenna tore it open, a shiver ran down her spine. The ink was dark and ominous, the calligraphy so perfect it seemed to dance on the page. You are cordially invited to a night that will change your life. The air thickened with mystery and betrayal, but why her? The dreams of attending prom had always been just that, dreams. And now? The invite felt like a cruel joke. Still, she couldn't resist the pull, like a moth drawn to the flame. The days leading to the event were a whirlwind. Jenna's friends gushed about the dress, the hair, the makeup. Yet in each sparkle of excitement, Jenna's heart raced with a mixture of hope and apprehension. She overheard her mother mumble something through clenched teeth, something about rich kids play stupid games. What did that mean? But the day before prom, whispers turned into frantic chatter. Blake Harrington was hosting not just anyone, his family had a reputation, and not the good kind. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night arrived, bringing with it an unexpected storm. As Jenna stepped into the grand hall, her breath caught in her throat, twinkling lights, glimmering gowns, and confident smiles all around. But something felt off, shadows lingered, and a chill clawed at her. Blake stood at the center, his grin radiant yet predatory. She could almost feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her. Was this the moment she'd been waiting for, or the beginning of a twisted game? The night was still young, but so was the hunger of the unknown. What lay behind the glitz and glamour? What truths would surface, and who would pay the price? The music pulsed through the room, like a living thing, each beat echoing the anxiety thrumming in Jenna's chest. She looked around at the faces, some familiar, some distorted by the manic glow of the chandeliers. Laughter and whispers floated on the air like toxic gas, and Jenna felt an invisible wire tugging at the corners of her consciousness, urging her to flee. Yet she stood frozen, rooted to the ornate marble floor. Blake stepped closer, his polished shoes glimmering as if they were the only thing in this place that mattered. "You came," he said, that smile still plastered on his face. But there was something lurking in his eyes, something darker that twisted the entire scene. "You invited me," Jenna responded, her voice shaky. She felt small, dwarfed not just by the grandeur of the hall, but by the presence of the boy standing before her. She forced herself to meet his gaze, clinging to the determined flicker inside her. He leaned in, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "I wanted you here. You might be surprised at how much you have to offer." The words dripped with an uncharacteristic gravity, pulling her into his web. What did he mean? But before she could respond, the lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced like spirits of the night. A collective gasp went through the crowd, heads turning, and Jenna followed their eyes, a knot tightening in her stomach. At the far end of the hall, A group of unknown figures materialized from the darkness, their faces masked in inscrutable expressions. "Oh no," Jenna whispered, realizing suddenly these were not just guests. They were players in a twisted game. "Showtime!" Blake exclaimed, clapping his hands together, his excitement as unsettling as a thunderstorm. The masked figures began to move, circulating through the crowd like predators scenting prey. The first one approached Jenna, a girl, maybe a year older, with striking blonde hair cascading over her sequin dress. "You must be our little charity case," she said, voice dripping with condescension, as if Jenna was a project rather than a person. "Leave her alone, Clara," Blake snapped, though a hint of amusement danced around his lips. Clara rolled her eyes. "You think you can bring outsiders into our world without consequences? How naive." Jenna's heart raced. The realization set in like ice water. This was no ordinary prom. It was a battleground of privilege and power, and she was nothing more than a pawn. The other masked teens began closing in, laughter ringing hollow against the music. Jenna felt their curious, judgmental eyes jiggle with malice, a mix of disdain and thrill floating in the air. Suddenly, Blake turned sharply, and his expression shifted. The playful facade melted away, replaced by something colder, more calculating. "Let the games begin," he declared, the once sparkling atmosphere tainted with an edge of danger. Jenna's mind raced as chaos erupted around her, beautiful girls laughing freely, while glancing her way, hidden whispers like daggers. She realized she had to escape, but escaping would mean abandoning the chance to claw back her worth. Then, she heard it, a voice she recognized from nightmares. "You don't know the price you might pay for being here," it warned darkly. The crowd responded, the energy shifting, growing heavier, more predatory. Jenna's pulse quickened, adrenaline spiking. She had come for a night of dreams, but instead stood on the precipice of an unseen cliff. What was she willing to risk to survive this night? Would she stand her ground, or would the darkness consume her? And then, a loud crash echoed as the grand doors slammed shut. The music stopped, and silence enveloped the room. All eyes turned back to Jenna. She took a deep breath. What had she stepped into, and how would she navigate this web of intrigue? The hush that fell over the room was suffocating, a weight pressing down on Jenna's chest. She could feel the intensity of the stares piercing her skin, making her want to shrink back. The music was gone, leaving only the pounding of her heart echoing in her ears. Blake's grin faded, replaced by a mask of concealed concentration, as if he were weighing options, calculating moves in some unseen game. Clara crossed her arms, a smirk dancing on her lips as the masked group circled closer, their movements predatory. "Now everyone's eyes are on you, Jenna," Blake said, his tone light, but with an undertone of something razor-sharp. "What's your next move? What do you want from me?" She blurted out, her voice rising with a blend of anger and fear. The room still held its breath, and she could feel the tension crackling like electricity in the air. "You're a part of this now, whether you like it or not," Clara chimed in, her voice like silk but laced with venom. "You'll find out soon enough. Why don't you just let her go?" Blake's voice shifted as if he had flipped a switch. The confidence that cloaked him wavered for just a heartbeat, revealing a glimpse of doubt. "There's no need for this." Their eyes locked, and in that instant, Jenna caught a glimpse of uncertainty hidden behind Blake's polished facade. Was he in control, or was he just another player in this twisted game? A figure from the masked group stepped into the light, a boy with a sharp jaw and piercing eyes. He leaned in close enough for Jenna to feel his breath, cold and calculated. "There are prizes to be won tonight," he said slowly, every word heavy with menace. "But some come with sacrifices." "What kind of prizes?" Jenna felt her heart pound. Desperation clawed at her. Was this all about wealth and privilege? Was her suffering going to be just a game? He smiled, revealing a flash of white teeth, the kind that can alter your life forever. But first you must play. He stepped back, letting the others close in, their faces hidden behind dark masks, obscuring the humanity Jenna desperately sought. This was not what she had signed up for. Her surroundings blurred as panic drummed in her ears. She needed to make her move, and fast. But how could she navigate a world where she was simply a pawn? Blake's gaze intensified. You have a choice, Jenna. Play the game or find yourself on the outside looking in. What do I stand to lose? She kept her voice steady, though tremors of uncertainty shook through her. Their laughter chimed ominously in response, bouncing off the walls like a warning bell. The masked figures began to whisper among themselves, their words barely audible, wrapping around her like a fog. She squared her shoulders. Whatever was happening here, it wouldn't swallow her whole. Jenna had to fend for herself. And if I refuse? Refusal has its own consequences, the boy stated matter-of-factly, the glint in his eye all too familiar. Jenna took a step back, doubt swirling like leaves in a whirlwind. Blake's eyes flicked toward the doors behind Jenna, a brief flash of intention crossing his features. Was it a chance to run? Or was it a trap? Choose wisely, Jenna, he urged. Your courage is about to be tested like never before. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation. Jenna stood at the crossroads, bracing herself for the chaos that lay ahead. This was no longer about fitting in. It was about survival. And in the depths of her mind, a nagging thought lingered. What darkness had she unleashed by stepping foot in this gilded nightmare? Every instinct screamed that she was in way over her head. The crowd surged in closer, excitement crackling in the air. In that moment, everything felt impossibly fragile. What awaited her as she braved this sinister game? As Jenna locked eyes with Blake, a startling realization dawned. She might just have to decide how far she was willing to go to unmask the truth about herself and the dangers of this elite trap. What if the real danger wasn't outside the room, but in the very people who seemed to draw her in closer? The murmurs in the room rose and fell, a tidal wave of anticipation crashing against the fragile shore of Jenna's resolve. She felt it, a thrumming energy that pulsed like a living thing, wrapping around her like a noose. Sweat beaded on her brow, slipping down her temples as the masked figures drew closer. Their eyes glinted like twisted stars, hungry and expectant. Decide, Jenna, Blake repeated, his voice now a low growl, devoid of the playful inflection it had held moments before. The sincerity in his gaze flitted in and out, revealing fragments of a tortured soul. Did he genuinely care? Or was he a master of these dark games, playing her like everyone else? Jenna's instinct shouted at her to flee. But where could she go with the walls closing in? Every exit loomed as a taunting mirage, unreachable and forbidden. Shaking in her shoes, she steeled herself against the fear. What happens if I play? The sharp-jawed boy leaned closer again, a carnivorous smile spreading across his face. You enter the dance of fortunes. Win, and your life transforms. Lose, and his voice fell to a menacing whisper. Well, I suppose you'll find out firsthand. What does losing even mean? The question burst from her lips, laced with disbelief. A tight knot formed in her gut as dread washed over her, chillier than the draft skimming through the room. It means you may never leave this night unscathed, he replied, amusement glimmering in his dark eyes. It's a chance to show your true self or don a mask of your own. Jenna's mind raced. She thought of her family, her responsibilities, the weight of her world. The very life she yearned to escape was now anchored to this very moment. With every heartbeat, her options narrowed until only one remained clear. She had to play. Fine. I'll play your game, she declared, her voice stronger than she felt. The masked crowd erupted in a chorus of sinister approval. Good choice, the boy chuckled, raising his arms as if to welcome her into an abyss. Let us initiate our newest contestant. With that, a spotlight flickered to life overhead, illuminating an elaborate spiral staircase at the end of the room. The staircase spiraled upward, leading to a darkened platform. The hostility of the crowd morphed into an unsettling thrill, like they were coiling around her, ready to strike. "Up you go!" Clara's voice rang out, dripping with mockery. She pushed Jenna gently, the motion both encouraging and forceful. Jenna stumbled forward, pulse racing. Her heart hammered in her chest like a drum signaling the end of an era. Climbing step after step, she felt every eye trace her movements, every breath whispering judgments. Were they excited for her, or were they waiting for her inevitable fall? Reaching the top, Jenna found herself on a platform draped in shadows, the faint echo of laughter drifting from below. It was almost beautiful until she saw the gleaming surface before her, a stark round table littered with a bizarre assortment of objects, a rusted key, a deck of cards, a small dagger, and an ornate hourglass, sand still swirling within. "What is this?" Jenna breathed, tentatively stepping closer, heart slamming against her ribs. "Your choice is the beginning of your game," the boy replied, now standing beside her. His aura shifted from playful to predatory, eyes gleaming with the thrill of the hunt. "Choose wisely, Jenna. Each item holds a path." "What happens if I choose wrong?" she whispered, her stomach twisting in fear. "Then the game plays you," he said, sealing her fate with a sly grin. Jenna's mind raced as she studied the table. Each object represented a risk, a promise, a consequence. The weight of it all pressed down on her like a stranglehold. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy. She was no longer just a participant, but the heart of the storm. What had she stepped into? Finding the truth of herself felt like finding a needle in the chaos, a daunting challenge. With the crowd below waiting, excitement simmering just beneath the surface, Jenna reached for one object. It was now or never. This single choice could unravel everything. As her fingers brushed against the object, a rush of power surged through her. But was this power worth the price? And then she understood every game had a player and a pawn. But who was she really? Before she could second-guess herself, she lifted it, ready to plunge into whatever twisted fate awaited her, shadows creeping closer as the crowd erupted in chaotic joy. What was lurking just beneath the surface of her decision? The moment Jenna's fingers closed around the cool metal of the small dagger, a tremor of anticipation surged through the crowd, their collective breath hitching like a taut wire ready to snap. Its weight felt heavy and indelible in her palm, promising danger or perhaps liberation. She met Blake's gaze, defiant yet spiraling. "This is your weapon now," he said, voice smooth but layered with menace. "Will you fight or will you fall?" In that instant, every flicker of uncertainty bubbled to the surface. Questions swirled fiercely in her mind. What had she accidentally armed herself for? The crowd was alive beneath her, a thrumming hive of hunger and expectation. Each gaze pinned her in place, an invisible chain anchoring her to the moment. Jenna shifted her grip on the dagger, fingers brushing against the blade's edge. Wisps of fear and adrenaline tangled in her thoughts. The watchful eyes seemed to mock her inner turmoil, feeding off it. Could this weapon be used to protect her, or would it be the herald of her downfall? "What do I do now?" she managed to ask, breath coming in quick bursts. "Choose your first challenge," Blake said, stepping back, letting the shadows swallow him. He gestured to the growing energy between two figures in the crowd. "These two will enact my rules. When, and you move closer to the truth you seek." Jenna's heart raced as she turned to face the gathering shadows. Two masked figures, both clad in form-fitting black, emerged from the throng. Their body language screamed confidence, a sinister dance of power and intimidation. She could sense they were likely experts in the brutality of this game. The crowd shifted restlessly, whispers crackling through the air like electric sparks. Had they come to see blood or victory? An invisible line now separated her from them, yet Jenna still felt the undeniable urge to push back against whatever this was. "Your task is to steal from one of us," one of them announced, voice smooth as silk yet edged with something darker. "Use your weapon wisely, and don't hesitate. Fear is poison in this game." Steal? The very word sent her spinning with visions of her life debt, struggle, and the endless fight to stay afloat. But now she had a weapon, a chance to defy everything she feared. Her eyes flicked between the two, but they moved like shadows, their hands poised, ready to strike or defend. Every part of her screamed to run, to flee this twisted circus of desperation. Yet Jenna felt her heart ignite with a fleeting ember of bravery. She needed to take a stand. In a rush, she lunged forward, surprise multiplying as she picked the target closest to her, the woman with a raven mask whose hands gripped a small, single gem dangling from a necklace, glimmering like a fallen star. The dagger sliced through the air, sharp and swift as Jenna aimed for the jewel, in a bid for power over her fate. But just before she reached it, the woman's eyes darkened, a movement so thrilling it curled Jenna's stomach into a tight knot. "Foolish girl," the woman hissed as the crowd collectively gasped, an echo of disbelief rippling tight in the air. Something twisted in Jenna's gut as the world seemed to shatter around her. Deep inside, she felt trapped not by the game, but by the war raging within her. In the single moment of hesitation, clarity dawned on her. This game wasn't just a test of actions and resolve. It was a test of soul and spirit. As the walls of her decisions began to crash in, Jenna caught sight of something glimmering beneath the blurs of chaos. Resistance bubbled within her. She could either let this vicious dance consume her, or seize this moment to reclaim her own identity. And just before she made her final push, an otherworldly laugh rose from the darkness, sending chills down her spine. "Oh, Jenna, you have no idea what is waiting for you once you take that step." What had she really unleashed with her choice? Everything around Jenna felt like a dream turned nightmare. The laughter echoed, wrapping around her like vines, squeezing until she could hardly breathe. Her grip tightened on the dagger, its cool steel grounding her in this terrifying reality. The woman with the raven mask stepped closer, the chilling smile on her lips promising consequences. "Did you think you could just take what isn't yours?" the masked figure asked, her voice a dangerous whisper that sent shivers racing down Jenna's spine. The crowd leaned in, the smell of sweat and desperation thickening the air. Each person seemed to draw energy from the dread weaving through the space. Jenna's heart thudded heavily in her chest. She had crossed an invisible line, stepped onto a stage where the rules of survival morphed into a twisted reality. What was she doing here? What had Blake unleashed with this challenge? The room pulsed between anticipation and fear, and now all eyes were on her. "Are you ready to play?" The man beside the woman taunted, his voice smooth, wicked. He took a step forward, the grinding noise of boots against harsh ground echoing like a drumbeat. "You hesitated. That'll cost you." And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. Jenna felt a familiar stone settle in her stomach. Stalling was not an option. She glanced between the masked duo, desperately searching for any glint of weakness. They were predators, and she was the prey, yet the very thought ignited something fierce within her. "I'm not afraid." Her voice trembled only a little, erupting from her lips like an unexpected fire. Each word fueled her resolve, lifting her chin slightly. The faint spark of defiance lit the corners of her fading confidence. Perhaps fear had its place, but she could be something more. Before she could overthink it again, Jenna lunged forward, aiming for the gem around the woman's neck. The dagger cut through the air, a silent promise of determination, a prophecy of survival. The woman moved to block, but Jenna twisted, ducking low and using her momentum. "Hurry!" The crowd wanted to wait. Someone from the distance yelled, breaking the charged silence. The urgency shot through her, and with a swift flick of her wrist, she reached for the shimmering gem. But the woman had anticipated her move. With a swift motion, she caught Jenna by the wrist, her grip like iron and burning. The two locked eyes, the glimmer of the jewel reflecting the panic brewing in Jenna's heart. "You think this is a game?" The woman leaned in, her voice low, dangerously intimate. "You're playing with forces far beyond your understanding." Jenna's breath caught, a sudden awareness dawning. This was not just about a challenge. She was plunging into a deeper turbulence, where every choice could spiral away from her control. But as she fought, pushed through, perhaps she could uncover truths she never imagined. With newfound fury, she twisted free from the woman's grasp and lunged again, not for the treasure, but for the truth hidden behind the mask. "No!" the man shouted, rushing forward, but Jenna's legs had already begun moving as if possessed. The crowd erupted, gasps crescendoed into roars of excitement or dread. This was her moment. The taste of freedom mingled with terror, but just as she caught sight of the crowd's anxious reactions, a sudden flash of light enveloped the area, blinding her. Shadows swirled and dissipated like smoke, and in that confusion, she lost sight of everything familiar. "Welcome to the real game," a voice echoed, chilling in its finality. Jenna's heart raced. What did that mean? The lights dimmed to a sinister glow as the laughter of the woman echoed through the chamber, haunting her, and the realization hit hard. This was only the beginning, and as swirling darkness began to consume her surroundings, Jenna knew she had to find a way back, a way to rewrite the rules or risk losing everything, starting with her own identity. What hidden truths waited to be discovered in this merciless game? Jenna stumbled through abyssal shadows, her heart hammering like a frantic drum against her ribcage. The sudden light had whisked away her surroundings, leaving her disoriented and vulnerable. She could feel the energy of the crowd slip away, its roaring anticipation replaced by an eerie silence that gripped her chest with icy fingers. "Where am I?" she whispered into the empty air, each word sending ripples of panic through her. The darkness felt alive, swallowing her whole, and in that quiet, she couldn't help but question herself. Had she truly been brave, or just reckless? Then, as if responding to her thoughts, a flicker of light danced ahead. Jenna edged toward it, her instincts pulling her closer. The floor beneath her feet felt uneven, a maze of shifting paths and unseen dangers. Each step seemed to echo in the void, shattering the silence. Suddenly, the light materialized into a scene, a lavish ballroom, glimmering with ornate chandeliers and shimmering decorations. The suspects from the crowd, the raven-masked woman and the man with a sinister smile, appeared at the forefront, their laughter filling the expanse like a sinister symphony. "Surprise!" the man mocked, arms outstretched as if welcoming her to a grand party. "Here's where the real fun begins." Jenna's breath hitched as she glanced around. Guests twirled in glamorous attire, but their faces were obscured, mere silhouettes cloaked in shadows and masks. It was all a facade, a depiction of joy veiled in secrecy. Her grip tightened on the dagger, the weight of danger heavy in her hand. "What do you want from me?" Jenna shouted, her voice slicing through the illusion like glass. Each word demanded an answer, a sliver of clarity amidst this grotesque charade. "Everything," the woman cooed, her voice dripping with mockery. "Your courage, your truth, and perhaps a little more." She gestured towards a platform rising from the floor, a stage ready for spectacle. "It's time for you to play your part." The crowd surged forward, pressing in from all sides, their zeal electric yet predatory. Jenna felt their eagerness weigh down on her, and she took a shaky step back. Room after room of glitz and glamour, a nightmare hidden behind attractive masks. "Step up, darling," the man urged, his voice tinged with a honeyed danger. "We all know you like the spotlight." Spotlight? She didn't want their limelight. She wanted to escape. But each footfall seemed to seal her fate, binding her to their twisted game. What if I refuse? It's not quite a choice, sweetheart, the woman responded, her smile one of toothy malice. You're already in the game. And trust me, refusal has its consequences, the crowd murmured, their anticipation thickening the air. Jenna felt trapped, the dagger now feeling like an anchor rather than a weapon. She needed a way, an exit, a chance to reclaim her identity and unravel the secrets that had twisted around her. Jenna! A voice called from the thrumming darkness, cutting through the tension. It was a familiar tone, almost reassuring amidst the chaos. You have to trust yourself. Her breath caught as she recognized the voice. Blake. The unraveling emotion swirled inside her, the desperation lifting her spirits. He was out there, somewhere in the maelstrom, and finding him might be her salvation. With determination igniting within her, Jenna made her choice. She refused to be just a pawn, a mere player in their cruel game. She needed to act. Placing one foot in front of the other, she pushed away from the taunting figures, a surge of rebellion coursing through her. But just as she turned, the crowd erupted. Where do you think you're going? The raven-masked woman hissed, something dangerous glinting in her eyes. You can't run from the truth. The truth will always find you. Jenna's resolve stiffened. The shadows stretched long behind her, and ahead was a flickering path laden with uncertainty. The chilling sensation of being hunted clawed at her back, yet her heart beat louder than her fears. When the truth is unleashed, will the shadows hold more than she'd ever imagined? Jenna's instincts kicked in, propelling her away from the crushing crowd. The weight of their gazes bore down on her like an avalanche, each masked face a reminder of the danger lurking in the air. She darted toward the edge of the ballroom, the light behind her casting elongated shadows that seemed to follow, clawing at her heels. Stop her! The man's voice sliced through the uproar, sharp and commanding. The pressure heightening around her, Jenna found herself at a sweeping staircase, each step spiraling downward into even darker uncertainty. She hesitated briefly, the idea of fleeing into the unknown sent a shiver up her spine. But could she truly remain under the scrutiny of the crowd's soulless eyes? Determination forged her path. She took the stairs two at a time, propelled by the need to escape. The heavy thud of her heart echoed in her ears. Behind her, the cacophony of footsteps grew louder. Clenching the dagger tighter, she descended, glancing back only once, catching a tantalizing glimpse of the ballroom lights flickering, shadows lurching before pushing into the first dark corridor she could find. The hallway twisted and turned as if it were alive, and eager to embrace her in its shadows. Desperate for some sense of direction, she pressed on, the sound of her breath mingling with the hurried whispers of the shadows around her. Jenna! Blake's voice broke through the veil again, weaving through her fear like a lifeline. Follow my voice. Blake, she called, letting the hope bleed from her lips. The warmth of his name mingled with the chill of her surroundings. Where are you? I'm close. Just don't stop. Racing on, Jenna conjured his voice in her mind, letting it guide her further into the dark maze. It felt as if the walls themselves were shifting, pressing closer, intent on trapping her in this realm of nightmare. And then, suddenly, she rounded a corner to find a small window flickering with light, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill gripping her limbs. In that moment of hesitation, the light revealed a figure crouched near the opening. Two eyes met hers, wide and fearful, and Jenna gasped. It was a girl, clad in a flowing gown, her raven hair tangled like wild vines. Please, the girl whispered, urgency lacing her tone. You can't go back, they will take you. You need to leave now. Jenna could sense the fear radiating from the girl, a kindred spirit trapped in a world of masquerades. Why? What will they do to me? The girl's face contorted with panic. I don't know entirely, but they feed off your essence. If you stay, they'll take what makes you you. The warning struck Jenna, a bolt of ice through her veins. She was running out of options. "Who are they?" she pressed, feeling the tremor of urgency pulse in her chest. "I only know them as the masks. They strip away your strength until you're nothing more than a shadow." The girl's voice wavered, her eyes brimming with fear. "The way I am now." Jenna's heart raced harder. "What is your name?" "Lena," she replied. "And my time is almost up." Before Jenna could ask how to help, the sound of footsteps thundered from the corridor behind them. Shadows shifted, closing in like hungry wolves. "Run!" Jenna urged, pulling Lena with her as they bolted down another corridor, her thoughts racing. Blake's voice was still a thread of hope weaving her onward, but could they truly escape the entity that haunted every corner? As they sprinted, Jenna remembered the dagger in her hand, her only weapon against the encroaching darkness. But could it ever be enough? What unspeakable truths awaited her, and would she be strong enough to confront them? An echo of laughter floated through the air as they turned another sharp corner, and Jenna's gut clenched. They weren't just chasing her, they were playing a game. A game where the stakes were her life. With Lena's fingers gripping her arm and adrenaline sparking her every move, Jenna knew there was no turning back. But what awaited them beyond the shadows? Would the truth set them free, or entwine them deeper in the web of deceit? "Stay close," she shouted, pressing forward, the haunting laughter growing louder behind them. Jenna felt an icy grip around her heart as they darted deeper into the labyrinthine corridors. But with every step, she also felt a flicker of hope. Could this darkness actually lead to a light? Jenna and Lena barreled through the twisting passageways, urgency vibrating between them like a live wire. Shadows flickered along the walls, dancing to a rhythm of terror that thumped in Jenna's chest. Every corner they turned pulled them deeper into the heart of an uncharted nightmare. "Where does this lead?" she panted, peering into the darkness ahead. I don't know," Lena exclaimed, her breath quickening. "But we have to keep moving." The laughter grew louder again, echoing down the corridor, a mockery of their fear. The walls felt oppressive, drawing in like a vice, threatening to crush any sense of escape. Jenna's mind raced. Was this game meant to test her will? They rounded another bend and came to an abrupt stop. Before them stood a colossal door, draped with heavy crimson curtains, stark against the gloom. An eerie silence enveloped the space, the kind that made hair stand on end. Jenna could feel something stirring behind it, anticipation mixed with danger. "Should we open it?" Jenna whispered, uncertainty creeping in. "If they're closed, we don't have a choice," Lena urged, her eyes darting around as if sensing the presence of traps. Jenna's heart pounded as she reached for the curtain, hesitating just a moment before pulling it aside. The door creaked open, revealing a vast room illuminated only by flickering candlelight. The air was thicker here, laden with the scent of something metallic and sweet. It felt wrong, twisted. "Blake!" Jenna shouted, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Jenna!" came a distant reply, threading through the shadows. "There." Lena pointed across the room. Blake stood near the far wall, entangled in what looked like ropes of smoke, his expression a mix of urgency and fear. "Get over here. Quickly!" he shouted, straining against the bindings that held him. Jenna bolted, her legs burning as she dashed across the room. But the moment she reached Blake, the atmosphere shifted. The room pulsed. Shadows elongated and curved, taking on grotesque shapes that writhed in the flickering light. "Get ready," Blake rasped. "They'll be here any second." "Who?" Jenna gasped, eyes darting back toward the entrance, anticipating the lurking threat. "The masks, they feed on fear," Blake answered, as his hands worked frantically at the binds. "We must break free before they arrive." Jenna felt a surge of anger and fear, mingling in her chest, igniting her instincts. With a swift motion, she brandished the dagger, its blade glinting in the dim light. Let me cut you loose. Not without safety first, Blake hissed. We have to draw them away, or we're done. Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, and the candles flickered violently. Laughter erupted again, this time a chorus disembodied cackles that echoed off the stone walls. Jenna tightened her grip on the dagger, ready to face the encroaching tide of shadows. Now, Lena! Jenna yelled. Help us create a distraction. The girl stared, fear etched across her face. What do I do? Think of anything. Just make noise. Jenna shouted, adrenaline surging. As Lena let out a piercing shriek, the laughter grew louder. It was enraged, ready and waiting to consume the very essence they were fighting to protect. A swarm of masked figures materialized at the doorway, creeping into the room like smoke. They moved fluidly, faces hidden behind gleaming masks that changed colors as they stepped forward, each shade more terrifying than the last. Cut me free! Blake shouted with urgency. Jenna's heart pounded louder than the footsteps, every pulse emphasizing the gravity of their situation. As she frantically sliced the ropes, a dark figure lunged forward with an electrifying intensity, barely missing her. The dagger still in her hand, Jenna turned as a swarm of figures advanced, driven by their unyielding hunger. Each step they took drained the warmth from the room. Blake, now! She urged, her voice trembling. But just as Blake was about to free himself, the shadows surged forward, sweeping Jenna and Lena with a chilling force. Jenna's entire universe collapsed into the chaos, and in that moment, she grasped the fragile line between fear and survival. Suddenly, Blake looked up, wide-eyed. They don't just want us to die, they want to take us. She barely registered his words before the laughter crescendoed, echoing the darkest fears trapped within her. How could they outsmart the very darkness that had drawn them into this demented dance? Jenna felt the icy touch of dread clawing at her heart as the figures closed in. The dagger pulsed in her hand, not just a weapon, but a slice of hope in this suffocating void. But what power did it really hold? Would it be enough against the insatiable hunger of the masks breathing down her neck? Prepare for the fight of your life, she shouted to Blake and Lena, bracing herself for the onslaught. With shadows engulfing her, Jenna knew the ultimate test lay ahead. Would they emerge unscathed, or would they too become mere echoes in this deadly masquerade? As the first figure reached out toward her, she gripped the dagger tighter, ready to confront whatever it was that lurked behind those relentless masks. But before she could act, a surge of energy shot through the room, illuminating everything for a brief moment. In that flash, she saw what lay beyond the darkness, truths she never imagined possible. What awaited her when the light faded again? The moment the shadows converged, Jenna felt a rush of adrenaline that clashed with the fear tightening around her throat. With Blake's powerful grip on her shoulder and Lena's terrified cry echoing, she didn't have time to consider the consequences. This was their last stand. She could either watch the darkness swallow them whole, or fight back with every ounce of strength pulsing through her. The figures lunged toward them, their masks glinting with a life of their own, hungry for the essence that made them whole. Jenna steadied her breath, the world around her narrowing to the feel of the dagger in her hand. Get ready, she shouted, a fire igniting in her gut. We fight together. Blake and Lena mirrored her resolve, eyes wide with determination. As the nearest shadow lunged, Jenna dodged to the side, swinging her dagger like a bolt of lightning. The blade sliced through the air, connecting with the figure's arm, and it recoiled, a tortured screech erupting from its mouth, a sound that made the very walls tremble. Jenna felt power surge through her. This was no ordinary weapon. This was hers. Keep moving, Blake yelled, breaking through the surge of shadows. They weaved together like a living tide, each of them finding their footing, ducking and weaving through the chaos. For every figure they felled, two more emerged to take its place, but Jenna was no longer afraid. They had stepped into the fight. This was her fight. "Clara!" one of the shadows hissed. "Get her!" At that moment, Jenna spotted Clara charging toward her, eyes ablaze with malice. The memories of their previous encounters flooded back, the words, the mockery, the disrespect. Clara lunged with brutal speed, and Jenna instinctively raised her dagger. With a blur, Jenna sidestepped, sending Clara crashing past her. The masked girl stumbled, and in that instant, Blake threw himself forward, grabbing Clara's arm. "Let us see how you handle the game now," Blake growled, using this sudden surprise to twist Clara around and pin her. She let out a scream, but it only added to the chaos swirling around them. Jenna moved forward, the dagger brimming with a newfound energy as it glimmered in the fading light. "What is your game now, Clara?" she taunted, adrenaline pushing her forward. The figure who had been mere intimidation moments ago looked vulnerable, exposed in the heat of battle. "You think," Clara shouted, but it was a hollow attempt. She could hardly regain her composure, struggling against Blake's firm grip. The laughter from the shadows grew more frantic, their anticipation raw and desperate. But Jenna felt it. She felt the tide shifting in their favor. "They're scared," she shouted, her voice bursting through the cacophony like a siren. "That's why they're relentless. They know they're losing control." With a collective surge, Jenna, Blake, and Lena struck together, each motion synchronized like dancers in a battle that had unfolded before them. The shadows recoiled as Jenna met their sinister pull with an astounding force of courage. The blade in her hand pulsed, amplifying a surge of defiance that radiated like a beacon. Then, with a thrust toward the heart of the chaos, Jenna drove the dagger deep into the ground. The moment it hit, a tremor rippled through the air, an energy crackling like a lightning storm, illuminating every masked face in the room. "This ends now," she yelled, her voice booming above the chaos. The shadows screamed, a wailing chorus rippling through the very fabric of space, each laugh turning into a cry of despair. Jenna watched as the ethereal figures began to shrink, retreating from the luminous wave her dagger had unleashed, finding refuge in the corners of the room where light could not reach. "What is happening?" Lena shouted, her eyes wide, reflecting the growing brightness. "Are we winning?" "Yes." "Keep going," Blake urged, pulling Clara along, forcing her back into the fray. "Together, we're unstoppable." As shadows began to dissolve like mist caught in the morning sun, Jenna felt an overwhelming rush of liberation wash over her. The weight of chains that had held her back crumbled into nothingness. "This was never about them taking who we are," she said, speaking to both Blake and Lena. "It's about reclaiming what has been lost." The laughter of the masked figures grew quieter, the laughter that once thundered like a storm now turning into a distant whisper. One by one, they faded into the corners of the room, their masks falling silent, their power waning. Jenna's heart raced as the last shadow disappeared, a feeling of hope surging through her. "We did it!" she gasped, catching her breath. But then, a chilling echo reverberated through the space. "You think this is the end?" A voice echoed, smooth and sinister. "This is only the beginning. The masks will always rise again." Jenna wheeled around, clenching the dagger, fury igniting within her. But Blake's hand on her arm steadied her. "No more games," he said, determined. "The transformation begins with us taking a stand and refusing to let them control us any longer." In that moment, Jenna understood what they had to do. "We'll reveal the truth. We will gather others and expose these games. Together." "Together," Blake echoed, confidence boiling in their hearts. And Lena nodded, a hopeful spark lighting her eyes. "They won. Win." "Not anymore." As remnants of darkness faded, Jenna realized she had shifted from within, emerging not just as a survivor, but as a heroine, the light that would break through the shadows they had once feared. She would ensure that secrets would no longer hide in the darkness. As they walked into the light, Jenna turned back to look at the room one last time. The masks might vanish for now, but they've shown us the way to warriors. We are ready to dance against whatever emerges next. The echo of her determination rang out like a declaration, a promise woven into the fabric of her spirit. They would no longer be pawns in someone else's game. They were players forging their own path, and as they stepped through the exit, hand in hand into the dawning light of a new day, they knew that together they could face anything. It was time to start anew. Not only for them, but for everyone hidden beneath masquerade masks that needed freedom, only waiting for the light to shine. Now, unstoppable and fierce, Jenna made a vow the game was on, but this time, they would be the masters of their fate. You need to subscribe now to stay connected with this stunning journey, so you don't miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your wild reactions and theories about this high-tension conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling tale with at least 5 friends who need to see it. The time to support is now. This is the moment to show your loyalty and be part of the adventure.